Continuing with discovering joy, the joy of developing great friendships. And we're looking at Philippians at the moment. Do you know, ever since we've started this series on Philippians on joy, this country has got angrier and angrier. There was, depending on who you talk to, a few thousand / a million people on the streets in London yesterday protesting about one side or the other. There's anger in the House of Commons. There's anger everywhere. There's all of that. I tell you what, as things get darker, we need to see Jesus shining brighter, and we need to have joy in our hearts. More that now than when we started. So hang on to this, because this is what I think the Lord is saying at the moment. Discover joy. Here we go. Philippians 2, verse 19. I hope in the Lord Jesus to send Timothy to you soon, that I also may be cheered when I receive news about you. I have no one else like him who takes a genuine interest in your welfare. For everyone looks out for their own interests, not those of Jesus Christ. But you know that Timothy has proved himself, because as a son with his father, he served with me in the work of the gospel. I hope, therefore, to send him as soon as I see how things go with me. And I'm confident in the Lord that I myself will come soon. But I think it's necessary to send back to you Epaphroditus, my brother, fellow worker, and a fellow soldier, who's also your messenger, whom you sent to take care of my needs. For he longs for all of you and is distressed because you heard that he was ill. Indeed, he was ill and almost died. But God had mercy on him, and not only on him, but also on me, to spare me sorrow upon sorrow. Therefore, I'm all the more eager to send him, so that when you see him again, you may be glad, and I may have less anxiety. Welcome him in the Lord with great joy, and honor men like him, because he almost died for the work of Christ, risking his life to make up for the help you couldn't give me. In your own time. There we go. Technology. So, like I say, we've been looking over the past few weeks at the benefits of discovering joy in life. It doesn't just make you feel better physically, though it does. It releases God's power in your life. It changes situations that we find ourselves in. It enables God to release his purposes into our lives. The joy of the Lord, that's what our strength is. The joy of the Lord. It enables us to develop clean hands and a pure heart. But because we're not designed to operate effectively on our own, there's a further benefit to discovering joy. It has the benefit of enabling us to develop great relationships. Joy is what you need to develop great relationships. Yes, you can have great friendships, and they're there in times of difficulty and stress and anxiety, and that's wonderful. But if you want to develop a whole network of great relationships, you need joy. You need joy. Now, great friendships are not nice to have, but I can do without them, thank you very much. Great friendships are essential. If we want to discover the fullness that God's got for our lives, you won't do it on your own. There's no real benefit in being a Trappist monk. You will not get the maximum benefit and blessing of all that God's got for you on your own. You know, of course you do, the Californian Department of Health, I'm sure you read them as they come out, produced a study a while ago, and they discovered that if you're disconnected from other people, there's no one in your life that you feel really understands you, you are 2 to 3 times more likely to die an early death. You are 4 times more likely to suffer from emotional burnout. You are 5 times more likely to suffer clinical depression. And you are 10 times more likely to be hospitalized for an emotional or mental disorder. Human connections are good medicine. We need them. Now, Proverbs 13, verse 20 says, puts it this way: keep company with the wise, and you will become wise. If you make friends with stupid people, you will be ruined. Don't make friends with stupid people. We're designed to be social beings. We operate best with the help of others. But the choosing of those others is absolutely crucial. It can lead to great joy or great disappointment. Now, what that verse is telling us, is that the character of friends rubs off on us, for better or for worse. You know, there are some people who inspire us to pursue something more meaningful, more noble. You know, you spend some time with people and you come away thinking, oh, I need to do something with my life. You come away from other people and you think, I need to abandon hope, all ye who entered. We're doomed. It rubs off on you. You know, there are some who inspire you. There are some who just drag you down and cause you to settle for less than you should. This is not about having Christian friends and not having non-Christian friends, because, you know, we all got Christian friends who are frankly like the kiss of death, aren't they, really? I mean, they just drag you down. They just make you feel worse. Yet, we need people who understand us, who relate to us, who can connect with us. And so to become wise rather than ruined, we need to develop great friendships. Now, that's what Paul turns his spotlight on now. You might look at what I've just read out and think, that's just housekeeping. You know, the bit in Philippians that I read out, it's just housekeeping. Let's skip over. It's not. It's not. Everything, all Scripture is God-breathed, and it's useful, essential. Now, like I've been saying, Paul is one of the most joyful people in history, and he's a great example of the fact that joy is not down to circumstance when being held prisoner. And what he does now is he models one of the reasons why he has maintained or remained joyful in spite of his circumstances. He models his strategy for growing friendships that inspire him and encourage him to be more than he can be and lead him to use well the talents that he was given. What he models is that to become a joyful and therefore an effective, fruitful and purpose-filled person, it is crucial that we choose friends who are displaying some particular characteristics. You can't leave this to chance. You just can't. And he actually shows what those characteristics are. Here they are. You need to build friendships with people who display a track record, first of all, of genuine care. People who actually really do care about you. It sounds obvious, but it's not. You know, Paul had an awful lot of people who wanted him to be their friend, but very few who over the long haul wanted to be his friend. There is a whole world of difference here between people who want to be your friend, want you to be their friend, and people who are prepared over the long haul to be your friend. Very few people who, when the chips are down, are displaying a track record of genuine care. But when Paul thought about who did fit that criterion, one name came immediately into focus: Timothy. I have no one else, he says, I have no one else like Timothy who genuinely cares about your welfare. The number one attribute that Paul could point to when he thought about his friend Timothy was his genuine care. There is an old Chinese proverb. There are never any new Chinese proverbs. I have found in my long life that all Chinese proverbs are old. Anyway, here's one of them that says, seek to understand before seeking to be understood. Seek to understand before seeking to be understood. And that was something that Timothy exemplified. You know, to be genuinely cared for is a liberating, uplifting, inspiring, joyful experience. And Paul had come to see that this was a crucial attitude to look for in someone before he opened his heart up to him. You know, in our Connect group in Westgate, just last week, we were talking a lot about buckets and how really your heart needs to be not just one bucket that everybody goes in, and then you realize some people deserve to be in that bucket and other people are there, you know, kicking you in the teeth. It's far wiser to have a series of buckets. People who are acquaintances, people who you're on nodding terms with, people who you're developing a relationship with, let's see which way it goes, people who you let into your heart. Don't put everybody in the same bucket. Seems obvious. Honestly, it's heartbreaking to see someone who is positive and enthusiastic and genuinely wanting to go for it with the Lord get hooked up with the wrong company and start listening to the wrong people and opening their heart to them, only to see that person changing almost before your eyes into a negative, cynical, closed person. Now that is the power of friendship, positive and negative. And Paul wanted to remain a really good, effective person, and so he looked cautiously at someone, not cynically, but cautiously at someone before he opened his heart to them to see if they had a genuine, caring heart. But he went further than that because it's so crucial. He waited to see whether they were displaying this care as a flash in the pan or over the long haul. He observed their track record before fully committing his heart. Consequently, he was able to say to the Philippian church, but you know how Timothy's proved himself. It's not to say that Paul was a suspicious, standoffish sort of person. It's to say that he knew the importance of guarding his heart and not foolishly jumping headfirst into relationships that would later prove to be destructive. You know, children, they hop from one best friend to another, don't they? Harvey, 5 years old, came home from school a couple of weeks ago and said, I finally found the person I'm going to get married to. After years of long searching, Harvey has found his soulmate, who he can't even remember the name of now, apparently. So fickle. There's a bit of a three-way love triangle going on, by the way. Oh, it's on camera, by the way, with Madison next door. There's Oscar, there's Harvey, and there's Madison. Yeah, I know. Madison prefers Harvey. Oscar is smitten. It's only going to end in tears, I tell you. But when you get to the old age of 6, as Oscar has, you know, you're almost over the hill. It's almost last chance saloon. You'll be an X Factor next. I'm 7 now. It's my last chance. And it went round the world. So Paul is being kind of careful here. Is this a flash in the pan, or are they displaying care and commitment over the long haul? And Paul says, listen, it's like this. When I was a child, I spoke and thought and reasoned as a child does. But when I grew up, I put away childish things. One of the childish things he put away was rushing into best friend status. He allowed the relationship to mature and seeing how it developed in the hard times as well as in the good times. I have some friends now, because I'm old, I have some friends now who I've had for, how long have we been friends? 3 weeks now? No, 27 years? I'm looking at you. I'm your friend. Oh, yeah, well, John, I'm looking at you because you are my longest serving friend. Apparently not. How devastating. I've been kidding myself for 28 years. Thank you, Ollie. Thank you. Oh, move on, you fool. Paul didn't have that. Paul, he saw friendships mature and they realized he was their friend. Because he lived by the proverb 28 years and he doesn't know we're friends. I can't believe that. I could have killed you and I'd be out by now. I chose to make you a friend. So I get nothing for that. St. Paul lived by the proverb, a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. Yes, it hurts. Now, there were many, many people that Paul was committed to, many people he genuinely loved in the Lord, but he chose his friends with great care because they were the ones he opened his heart to. They were the ones that would inspire him to be a wise person or actually bring ruin to him. There are so many people today, so many Christians today who have chosen unwisely in this area and who have had their level of effectiveness in the kingdom severely reduced as a result. People who want to be really effective, people who want to be really going for it, and people who want to have a whole well of joy in their life choose their friends carefully by assessing whether they're displaying a track record of genuine care, but also by assessing whether they are displaying a track record of genuine trustworthiness. Now, one writer, George MacDonald, he observes that it is a greater compliment to be trusted than to be loved. Now, the people that Paul allowed into his heart were not only those whom he knew genuinely cared about him, but whom he could trust. People like a guy called Epaphroditus, about whom he said, Epaphroditus is a true brother, a faithful worker, and a courageous soldier. And he was your messenger to help me in my need. And Paul's describing here what Epaphroditus is like under different circumstances. In terms of being a fellow Christian, he was genuine, a true brother. In terms of actually rolling up his sleeves and getting involved, he was faithful. When the going got tough and it became decidedly risky to own up to being a Christian, he was courageous. Now, Paul looked at Epaphroditus and saw someone who built up a track record of trustworthiness, not flakiness, but trustworthiness over the long haul. Again, around the world. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you. Paul knew he could be completely open and honest with Epaphroditus because he could trust him. As Proverbs 20 verse 6 says, most people will tell you what loyal friends they are, but are they telling the truth? Well, sadly, if you don't apply these tests, you'll only find out when it's too late and you're relying on them to be steadfast and reliable and trustworthy, and they show themselves to be fair weather friends. Some of them won't even remember that they are your friend of 28 years. I should have asked him, is he my friend? Thank you. I know. That's your wife, Ollie. That's a safe person. Keep company with the wise. Keep company with the trustworthy, and you will be inspired to be trustworthy. You'll be inspired to open your heart to them and become accountable to them and grow to be really effective as a result. Now, one of the principal ways you grow a track record of trustworthiness is by being honest and truthful. So Proverbs 29 verse 5 is so true when it says, if you flatter your friends, you set a trap for yourself. You've got a lovely singing voice. Now, I've tried another tack on this with my best friend. My tack is this. You've got a private singing voice. It's lovely. Just keep it to yourself. Well, I'm not saying. That's the subtext. She sees right through it. Oh, so you don't like my thing? No. Anyway, if you flatter your friends, you set a trap for yourself. That trap that you set for yourself is the trap of ending up with no friends. Because nothing destroys a friendship quicker than the realization that someone hasn't been honest and straightforward with you. That they've just said whatever they thought you wanted to hear for a quiet life. Oh, you look lovely in that. Yes, can we go? It's a trap. I guess equally the trap is, do I look lovely in this? I guess the right answer is, do you want me to say you look lovely in this? Give me some parameters here. Be truthful. Developing a track record of trustworthiness is about daring to be honest and truthful within an atmosphere of genuine care. Now, that kind of friend challenges and inspires you to become the person that you can be, because they don't let you get away with inauthenticity or just kidding yourself. A true friend is not always comfortable to be around, because they don't always tell you what you want to hear, but they do always tell you what you need to hear. And in doing so, they're building a track record of trustworthiness. Such friends are worth their weight in gold. It's such a joy to have them because they inspire you to become more effective as a person. Let me just ask you at this point, who have you got around you whom you know you can trust to tell the truth? Thank you very much. Thank you. Who is actually my friend of the last 28 years, funnily enough, as luck would have it. You'll know that person because that person genuinely cares about you. If you want to really discover the joy of being fully the person that God created you to be, if you want to use the talents that the Master has given you to their full effect, and so hear his well done, my good and faithful servant at the end, you can't leave this to chance because you can't effectively get there on your own. Everyone who really is going for it, who really is effective, is choosing their friends carefully and is also seeking to be this kind of friend to others. This kind of genuine friend will also display a track record of selflessness. Truly great friends, that sounded a bit odd, didn't it? Truly great friends don't cling. They are not Klingons. They release. Now, actually, Paul not only had truly great friends who encouraged him to be all that he could be, he was a truly great friend to them. Now, imagine the scenario, right? He's thousands of miles from home. He's a prisoner. He's chained day and night to a Roman guard. He's awaiting trial and execution. His only connection with the churches that he's planted is via the occasional letter and the person who delivers it. He is in a very uncertain position. And the one bit of comfort he's got is that he has a few good friends around him. So what does he do? What would you do? Well, what does he do? Don't ask questions. What would he do? Well, listen, if the Lord is willing, I hope to send Timothy to you soon. Now, be honest, would you do that? I'm not sure that I would. The number of friends he's got, really good friends, he can count on the fingers of one hand. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send one of them away to you. But the mark of a true friend is that they don't stop someone doing what they have to do because of personal feelings. They don't cling. They release. They display the character quality of selflessness. The other side of that coin is the character quality of jealousy. Having jealousy as an ingredient of the friendships you keep is an almost cast iron guarantee that you will be a less than joyful person. Because your focus becomes keeping other people happy rather than fulfilling your purpose in life. Oh, if I do that, how are they going to react? What are they going to feel like? They're going to get all jealous, all clingy. Oh, I can't do that. If you start thinking with that kind of tune, you know you're in trouble. Now, Paul never clung to anyone, no matter how desperate his situation was, because he knew the value of having great friends. And he wanted to be a great friend too. So he was prepared to be deprived of Timothy's company, leaving only Epaphroditus to keep him company. Maybe we'd let one friend go if we knew we had another good friend up our sleeve in reserve. Yes, you're the reserve friend. You've just been promoted. You're now my best friend. Jolly good. Well done. Congratulations. But then Paul goes on to say, meanwhile, I thought I should send Epaphroditus back to you. He has not had a huge bust up, by the way. He's not like clearing the decks here. So I'm all the more anxious to send him back to you, for I know that you will be glad to see him, and that will lighten all my cares. That is the portrait of a great friend. A great friend is one who displays a track record of selflessness. It's that ingredient of selflessness that enables people to reach for the highest goal of God's best, rather than lag behind for fear of upsetting other people. I would love to do this, but people are going to get upset if I do it. I'd love to at least try, but it's just, is it worth the hassle? Paul would rather be left on his own than be responsible for holding his friends back from the plans and purposes that God had got for them. That is the mark of a true friend, and it enabled Timothy and Epaphroditus to pursue all that God had got for them. Wise people choose friends who have the character quality of selflessness. And they find that it challenges and inspires them to be selfless in return. Well, I can hardly be all jealous and petty now, can I? No, you can't. That's right. That's the point. Selflessness begets selflessness. Jealousy begets frustration and destruction. That's why people who want to discover God's joy in their lives choose their friends carefully. That's why they set themselves the goal of being nothing less than that themselves. By the way, is that a good description of your relationships? Knowing that question was going to come up, I've done my inventory, I'm fine. But what about you? Would you do what Paul did? Or would you feel jealous and left behind? It's all right for them. Yeah, great. What about me? What kind of friend are you? Remember, generally speaking, the kind of friend you attract tends to reflect the kind of friend you are. Now, I'm privileged to have a number of great friends, people who encourage me to be more than I currently am. But my best friend doesn't let me get away with anything. It's really depressing. Neither does she hold me back from anything because of her own issues. It had better be. There you go. And in the atmosphere there is of genuine care, I can risk shooting for the stars because I know she's not going to say, well, I told you so. Should never have tried that. You know me, I always play safe, she'd say. No, she wouldn't. No, she wouldn't do that. I'm married to her. I can take risks because my best friend believes in me. And there's a fourth aspect, moving hurriedly on, of great friendships that bring us great joy. Great friends display a conviction in their life that's going to inspire us. We need people to inspire us. We need role models to inspire us, but you also need friends to inspire us. We need friends who will infectiously and contagiously talk about Jesus Christ and what he's doing in their life. We need friends who challenge us to believe that God is going to do something in our life. We need friends that challenge us to want what matters to Jesus Christ more than just what will give us a quiet life. All the others care only for themselves. Bit harsh. I've always thought that's a bit harsh when I've read that. What, all of us? Oh. All the others only care, and not what matters to Jesus Christ. Now, all the others that he's talking about here is everyone but Timothy and Epaphroditus. They were the exceptions because they really did care about what mattered to Jesus Christ. Can you imagine how challenging and inspiring it is to be in a relationship with someone who genuinely is wanting to live their life according to what matters to God? It challenges every single compromise that you make. It highlights every time you opt for the status quo rather than what's right. A friend with that kind of friendship with that kind of person pushes you towards being more than you currently are. Paul and Timothy had that effect on each other. Like a son with his father, Timothy has helped me in preaching the good news. And they were very good for each other because both of them displayed a conviction in their lives. And that was probably what Paul first spotted in Timothy when he was just a boy, and it proved the foundation stone of their growing friendship. Timothy saw Paul as a role model, but came to see him as a friend as well. Now, they were both, as a result, really effective and joyful people. Timothy became the pastor of, at that time, the largest church in the world, the church at Ephesus. And Paul planted churches and discipled leaders until his dying day. They both fulfilled their potential. They both ran the race that was set before them. For people who earnestly desire for their lives to truly count, they'll choose their friends using those four indicators. And they'll discover that those friendships take them in an upward spiral towards the power of joy. They'll find, like Paul and Timothy, that having such a friend resulted in being such a friend. The kind of friend you attract, in general, reflects the kind of friend you're being. Listen, are you determined that your life is going to count? Determined to use the talents and the gifts that God's given you? Here's the crucial insight. It only really happens in community, in relationship. Those who become really effective in God's kingdom plans choose caring, trustworthy, selfless, inspirational friends. Like Paul with Timothy and Epaphroditus. Like you with who? Who are the inspirational people in your life? And who sees you that way? Who can you count on, and who can count on you? Keep company with the wise, you'll become wise. If you make friends with stupid people, you'll be ruined. So why don't we pray that God will just inspire us to be that inspirational friends to others, and inspire us to intentionally grow great friendships. Lord, I thank you that you have made us so that we are not lone rangers. Guess even the Lone Ranger had Tonto. So nobody's truly a Lone Ranger. And we don't operate best in that environment. We need other people, but we need the right people. And we need to be the right people. So Lord, would you guard our hearts? Lead us towards becoming great friends and growing great friendships. We don't want to just settle for what might have been. We want the joy of seeing your best birthed in our lives, and we recognize that's only going to happen when we're in community, we're in healing fellowship, where we're surrounded by friends who have a track record, and where we ourselves become that friend for others. Lord, save us from being dragged down by wrong friendships. Fix our eyes on becoming great friends and developing great friends. May we discover the joy of this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.